everybody, thank you for coming today. My name is Cheryl Borsh, and I am with Hawaii Community College and taking a class on speech. We had a subject matter to talk about today in our persuasive speech. Should Hawaii label all GMO agriculture and food? Today we're going to talk a little bit about what GMO is, GMO foods of Hawaii and why, and no need to label, in my opinion, health issues without GM products, issues for Hawaii environment, farmers' effect on their crops, a summary, and a conclusion. So GMO is moving one gene of a healthy plant to another. It's transferring characteristics such as disease resistance. It is an aid for farmers to increase productivity by reducing crop damage with weeds, diseases, and other insects. It's actually cross-pollination. A molecular scientist named John Suzuki from the USDA Hilo actually defined this. In the 1980s, U of H Hilo developed papaya variety resistant ring spot virus, which is now known as the rainbow papaya of today. Viral genes that are basically encoded by capsid proteins are transferred by the papaya genome. The proteins provoke an immune response. This is much like the immune response that we have in our own bodies. The new papaya no longer are susceptible to infection, allowing farmers to cultivate fruit when virus is widespread. This was based on a conversation and interview that I had actually with Michael Shintaku, who's a PhD professor at UH Hilo, plant science pathologist. GMO foods of Hawaii and why? Hawaii's got the perfect environment to cultivate corn, papaya, and many other types of fruits and vegetables. GM actually helps save farmers' papaya crops, and corn can grow more than one season here. And basically, I didn't know this either, corn is actually cultivated here and shipped over to the mainland, and it's used mostly for grain for cattle in our mainland. Corn seeds are produced and shipped to mainland, like I was saying, as grain and feed. Here's a picture image of a papaya farmer. Very fortunately, genetically modified papayas saved their crop and the family's future. So basically, no need to label, and the reason why I say this is labeling implies a health risk. There are no verifiable risks. Let me stress that point. Scientific data, there are none. They're unfounded claims. Basically, the FDA already has regulations for nutritional allergies that are based on products, and that's current. Why redo it? You're reinventing the wheel. Cost of labeling will trickle down to the customer. Consumers buy non-GMO food already have two options. They purchase verified non-GM or certified organic foods. So it's already available. This is based on the Colorado State University research project. In addition, other mandatory labeling that has been instated through the European Union, Japan, New Zealand, has not resulted in greater consumer choice. The food systems currently, the infrastructure in the U.S. could not accommodate segregation of GM and non-GM products. Health issues without GM products. GM food scientists have been proven safe for decades. Gunter Blobel is a Nobel Prize professor, scientist at a Rockefeller University who has been studying this particular issue for years, as well as Philip Sharp. Through the he's a scientist for Massachusetts University, or Institute Technology. Poverty and disease and poor diet. The example I'm showing here is golden rice. The GM product of golden rice was produced that includes beta-carotene in the Philippines. There were 1.9 to 2.8 million preventable deaths annually due to this genetically modified rice. It saved lives. Basically, kids, families, they needed the beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is high in vitamin A. Having vitamin A and other deficiencies leads to death, and not a very good death. Consider the human population. Starvation is a health issue. We need to feed the planet. We need to keep that in mind. Genetic modified foods will enable us to do that. Genetic modified foods is not steroids. It's not the terrible things that has been led up to believe in the press. Issues for the Hawaii environment. Not from GM products, you might think, but pest control, particulates, the aftershoots of spraying, and the pesticides that have to deal with that. The endangered species that we have on this island are particular and specific to here. Those are Hawaii environmental issues. Abandoned junk cars, traffic congestion, pollution, homelessness. These are all Hawaii environmental issues. These have nothing to do with genetic modified products. Illegal drugs, the after effects of that. Landfills are overfull. What are we doing with that? These are the Hawaii environmental issues, not GM. Farmers' effect on crops. The rainbow papaya saved the crops in the 1990s, being able to save farmers and their families. GM reduces pesticide use they're less harmful to our bees. With spraying pesticides, they confuse the bees. Using a GM product, modified corn, something of that nature, is not going to confuse the bees. That has no deterrent effect on our positive insects that we need. 90% of corn crops are GM. GM are produced to solve problems, not to cause problems. It's basically inoculation for bacteria and viruses that inhibit our produce. So it is a benefit. It is not a deterrent. This is based on Cornell University study and information from Michael Shintaku. This is another image of a farmer who's pretty happy about being able to save his GM crops. In a summary, we defined our GMO foods, GM foods of Hawaii and why, and no need to label, really. It's not harmful. Labeling something signifies something is going to be harmful to your health. It's not. Health issues without GM, that's something to consider. Starvation, where we would be without GM products. Issues of Hawaii environment, there are none whenever it's concerned with GM. The farmers' implications of their own crops. Labeling implies a health risk. No verifiable differences. Nutritional and allergic are current FDA regulations, so it's duplicating a duplicating process of redundancy department process. Cost of labeling will trickle down to the consumer, and we don't want that. Consumers buy non-GM foods already have two options. They can purchase non-GM products or certified organic foods. In addition, other mandatory labeling, European Union, they've already done this. It has not resulted in a greater consumer choice. The current food systems, again, in the U.S. Will not accommodate segregated GM and non-GM products. Thank you very much. That's my conclusion, and these are my references. Thank you. That was better than Saturday. Oh, yeah.